Hey Rebecca, can one spouse force the other to sell in a divorce? What's up, guys? My name's Rebecca Green. I'm a real estate divorce specialist, and today we're going to talk about one of the most frequently asked questions that I get around what in the world happens to the family home. Now, I want to start by acknowledging that this is a really scary topic for a lot of people. Where in the world you're going to go after a divorce, as far as having a safe place to live for you, potentially children who are involved, is a really delicate conversation. So I don't want to walk into this lightly, but I do want to answer the question as specifically and as quickly as I can. And the fast answer to this is yes, absolutely. One spouse can force the other one to sell. The way that I like to explain it to my clients is you all, as married people, had a business together, and that business had lots of assets. During a divorce, the business is dissolving. And so if one partner decides not to pay the bill of the house, if one partner decides that they want a higher price for the home than might be fair to the market, then that spouse can not agree and choose to force the other spouse to sell. Now, there are several caveats with this that I do want to get into just a little bit, but to quickly answer the question, yeah, one spouse can be angry and cause a big problem for the other spouse, which is why it is so important that you have professionals in your corner who are working with you, giving you good, solid advice, not trying to pit you against each other or turn this into a he said, she said. What's the most important in a divorce is that you're both keeping the end goal in mind, which is that you can both move on with your life outside of this marriage in a happy, healthy way. So let's get into this. To start with, and I'm just going to use myself as an example here, that way we don't get any in the weeds with weird questions. So if I was married, could my husband force me to sell our family home? Yes. The first way he could do that would be by stopping paying the bills. And if he and I are on the home together, electricity, water, mortgage payment, and he's like, tough luck, I moved out of the house already, I'm not going to pay for it, I have to take that mortgage payment on myself. And if I don't pay the mortgage payment, then eventually the bank is going to come after me. It's going to run my credit. It's going to put me in foreclosure, and they could force you to sell in that way if you simply don't have the money to keep the home on your own. Another way that they could force you to sell, as I already said in the beginning, is they could refuse to agree on a price for a home. How I've seen this happen in the past, I just had a conversation yesterday with one of my appraiser friends about this. The husband wanted to take the price of the home on Zillow. The wife wanted to take the price of the home of a real estate agent, and they weren't agreeing, which means what looked like is they're going to have to end up going all the way to court and stand in front of a judge to help them decide the value of a home. Now, here's why this is bad for both parties, and it's something that I highly recommend you do not do. A judge is not a real estate agent. A judge is not a real estate appraiser. They don't know the value of the home, and quite frankly, they don't care. Appraising a home is where, let me back up. Appraising a home is where you hire someone, an appraiser, who's a third-party consultant to come in, look at the square footage, the condition of your home, the year built, similar comparables in the neighborhood, and help you all establish a price. This is a very helpful process and one of the most common ways to establish the price of a home in a divorce. A couple of problems with this here are, one, appraisers don't always give you the fair market value. My neighborhood is a really good example. I've got a friend and past client here who decided that he wanted to keep the family home. He had an appraiser come in, tell him how much his home was worth, even though I'm a good friend and told him already. He had an appraiser come in and tell him how much his house was worth. What was interesting is that the appraiser put a value on the home that was about $75,000 less than I, as a real estate agent, thought that we could sell the house for. So what did that do? His ex-wife, who was asking for the appraisal to start with, put herself in a really funky situation because he had offered a higher price for the house. The appraiser came back and was like, actually, it's not even worth that. So what husband and wife did in that scenario is they negotiated a price that he felt good about and she felt good about. He paid her out on the home and went on his merry way. But that's just one example about how bringing in a third party, that's an appraiser who at least knows the actual market, about how much you could get a loan for on a property, price per square foot, some of those more important details of selling a home. A judge might be like, hey, I don't care what the price is. You guys are wasting time in my courtroom. You already have a professional's opinion. I don't know how much your house is worth, but I'm going to make up this number. And Rebecca, if you want to keep the house, then you're going to have to pay your ex-husband out this much. So those are some of the conversations that you get into whenever you're trying to figure out how much a home is worth. And to specifically answer your question, yes, absolutely. One spouse can force the other one to sell. That's where divorce gets really messy. And it's one of the most important reasons that you try to work proactively with a partner, with your ex-partner. I know you don't like each other anymore, but what's going to happen is you're going to tear each other down. And I had a credit repair specialist talk with me about this recently. A lot of people go, oh, hey, it's just one missed mortgage payment. If somebody's being a pain in the butt, has a new house already, and now if I'm the house spouse, so the person who's in the house until the house sells or trying to keep the house long term, I'm responsible for the mortgage payment. If I miss the mortgage payment, it is going to hurt someone's credit. It's going to hurt my credit because I'm on the mortgage statement. It's also going to hurt my spouse's credit if they're on the mortgage payment. And I forget the exact numbers. I'll look at them and I'll find them in the comments. But a missed mortgage payment, that first missed mortgage payment, hurts your credit score more than any of the preceding missed mortgage payments. It's one payment, and the credit company goes, "Oh, they've got problems. We're going to ding their credit score for it." And it's a huge difference in how much that first credit score is dinged. You miss one payment, it's a bad thing. You miss the second and the third, it's not great, but it won't ding your score as much as that very first missed mortgage payment is. That's just one of the ways that spouses who are upset or angry, there's financial burdens on a family, hurt the other one in a divorce. It's one of the top reasons that I tell people early on. Sometimes even before you hire attorneys, it's good to be able to sit and look at your assets to figure out how much the assets are, how you agree on a price, how you agree on repairs that need to happen to a home, and then what the options are. Because at the end of the day, the value of the home is a simple negotiating piece. And a lot of people don't like to hear me say that, but that's what it is. It's a value. It's an asset that you all built together, and you have to negotiate if you're going to keep it, if they're going to keep it. You have to agree on a price. And once you have that price, you can go to your attorneys and you can fight over the house all you want. It's very important in the beginning to understand if someone's forcing you to sell, what they're forcing you to sell. It would be like, I don't know, you know how they have those shows where you walk into a storage container facility and they're like, "I'm going to buy that for $500. There might be a treasure in there." Same thing with the house. Sometimes spouses are like, "You have to sell it." "Well, how much is it worth?" "I don't know." Those are really difficult, dangerous situations that can set people up to really crash in the middle of divorce negotiations. And it's very important that you're able to have a conversation up front. So one of the policies that I have in my world is I represent the house, not spouse A or not spouse B. Even if you're the spouse that is going to be selling the home and I would be representing you as an agent, I still represent the house. I will still have a legal obligation to communicate clearly and honestly with all parties involved. And my one goal would be to sell the house. Typically in a divorce, the idea is to sell it for the highest and best price. Sometimes the biggest goal is to just get it moved quickly so all parents or all people involved can have their money to be able to move out into the next phase of life. But at the end of the day, having a goal that everyone agrees on is very important. I have conversation after conversation where I caution people about the issues that come up with trying to use the house as a leveraging piece. Typically, one spouse always wants to keep the house, and I don't blame them. There's stability there. There's a lot of reasons that someone might not want to sell a house. But you've got to understand the value of the asset that you're holding on to so that you know how to negotiate. So that's my answer. Can one spouse force another to sell? Absolutely. The person keeping the house is going to have to qualify to buy the home on their own with the current interest payment. And they're also going to have to get the equity from the house to the other spouse. That can be done in a variety of ways. I have a whole video on that. But to answer that specific question, there you go. Absolutely, one spouse can force the other to sell because it's a business asset that you all own together over the course of your marriage.